Awesome. I just have an opening question. Does anyone have any accessibility needs today that need to be met? No? Okay, great, then let's get started. So, hi there, I'm Elizabeth Lappano from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and today we're going to be talking about neurodivergency in the arts. Here's our order of operations for today. We're going to start with a short introduction into the topic, then we're going to dive into neurodivergency in the brain, the different types of neurodivergencies, some links between neurodivergencies and the arts, and finally, how to induce change in the world. Let's get started. This is Professor Charles Xavier, played by the wonderful Patrick Stewart. Now, I might get some disagreements here, but I have to say, he's probably one of the most powerful X-Men characters in all of the franchise. I mean, he has telepathic and telekinetic abilities, and he's taken out some pretty powerful enemies. And that's me, dressed as Captain America. I mean, you're probably wondering, what does little Elizabeth and a super powerful fictional character have to do with each other? Well, we're both mutants. Now, I don't have the same powers as Professor X, even though I wish I did. I don't have powers at all, but I am a mutant. I have attention-deficient hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD. Surprisingly, many neurodivergent conditions, like autism and ADHD, have a strong genetic component, meaning mutations in specific genes can contribute to their development. Now, obviously this doesn't mean that anyone with a neurodivergency is going to develop a superpower, but it does mean that our brains are wired differently than those of neurotypical people. But where did neurodivergency come from originally? Well, neurodivergency is considered to be an evolutionary trait that presents itself because cognitive behavioral adaptation was necessary for our ancestors. This means that somewhere down the ancestral line, the need for things such as search variation, risk-taking, flexibility, experimentation, discovery, and innovation were needed in a way that the neurotypical brain could not do. This caused the gene for neurodivergency to become developed. Really, neurodivergency has been around for a long time and is in no way something new to us. So what causes someone to be neurodivergent? Well, that's a loaded question with lots of possible answers. Research has found that mostly it's a combination of genetic and environmental factors, your basic nature and nurture. Certain chemicals or ingredients ingested in childhood have shown links to developing ADHD later in life. However, as I said before, ADHD and other neurodivergencies are genetic. Usually, a parent or sibling of someone with the disorder also has it. So how does neurodivergency really affect the brain? And how does that affect behaviors in individuals with divergency? Well, a new study led by UC Davis Mind Institute researchers confirms that brain development in people with autism differs from those with typical neurodevelopment. Overall, it comes down to a structural difference in the brain. Studies have shown that children with autism have an enlarged hippocampus, which is the area of the brain responsible for forming and storing memories. And along with this, research has shown that in children with ADHD, the prefrontal cortex matures more slowly than typically developing kids, and it's also slightly smaller in size. Similarly, the cerebellum, hippocampus, and amygdala are also thought to be smaller in volume in kids with ADHD. Neurodivergency also manifests itself in different ways, person by person. For example, some people may be better at math and science than their neurotypical peers, while others may be better problem solvers and have hyperfixations, which is when someone has an intense focus on an object, subject, or person. For example, ever since I was 12 years old, I've had an intense hyperfixation on mythology, thanks to Percy Jackson. These things can be great, but having a neurodivergent brain also has some downsides, like issues interacting socially, sensory processing issues, and struggles with focus and concentration. Individuals with neurodiversity tend to be different neurocognitively, which means that we process the world around us in a way that is considered atypical. Now you may be thinking this is something that only affects a small portion of people here and there, but that's not true. About 20% of the world population is neurodivergent. That's 2 out of 10 people that experience the world in a way that is different than neurotypical people. There are also many different types of neurodivergencies as well. In fact, that umbrella term covers over 10 different types of divergencies, including ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, bipolar disorder, Tourette's syndrome, OCD, and dyslexia. Each neurodivergency presents itself in different ways and has its own benefits as well as its own setbacks. For example, people with dyslexia can be better at problem solving, have a stronger memory, and can even have wonderful imaginations. The setbacks, however, are problems in school and problems with reading, writing, and math. People with bipolar disorder, however, can possess personality traits, including drive and motivation, ideational originality, and cognitive flexibility. The negatives, of course, being extreme mood swings, relationship difficulties, and impulsivity. Clearly, each neurodivergency is different, both in how it presents itself in the brain, as well as the setbacks and benefits of each. So how does this all relate to the arts? What does neurodivergency have to do with the arts at all? A lot. While no concrete studies have been done on the subject, an estimated 25 to 50% of performing artists, like actors or musicians, fall somewhere on the neurodivergency spectrum. That's much higher than the estimated 20% of the world population with neurodivergency. But why is the number so high? And why do so many neurodivergent people turn to the arts? Is it the community we find there, or something else entirely? Art is a form of expression, a means to connect to the world. For neurodivergent children, the arts in its many forms can paint a landscape of self-discovery, chip away at anxiety, and lift self-esteem. In my own experience, the art community is a place of belonging and love and acceptance. And I think a lot of people have experienced the same thing for themselves. Neurodivergent people fall outside the spectrum of normal, out of the range of what is expected by society. Because of this, neurodivergent people are used to living on the outskirts of society. By that, I mean we're used to existing in a place that is considered atypical. And theater and the arts perfectly encapsulate that space. The arts are a place for creativity and exploration, giving people a chance to experiment and try new things. Art never expects someone to be a square when they're a circle. And that's one of the reasons neurodivergency and the arts go so well together. Stories and art get into our soul in a way that science and data don't. And I'm not saying that some neurodivergent folks don't prefer science and math over arts because, again, neurodivergency is a spectrum, with each person being different from the other. I'm just focusing on those who prefer the artistic and abstract side of the world. At the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where I attend, our theater department is producing a showing of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, a show in which the main character, Christopher, displays many different neurodivergent tendencies. As an undergraduate, I had an opportunity to assistant direct my research mentor, Ralph James, who is the director of the show. Through this process, and by interacting with the cast, many of whom are neurodivergent themselves, I've had firsthand experience seeing the process taken by different actors when portraying a character with neurodivergency, as well as seeing the process neurodivergent actors themselves take when approaching a piece of media such as this. It has been a wonderful learning experience and getting to see firsthand how neurodivergent actors go about learning lines, memorizing blocking, and doing anything else that comes with producing a show. By the way, if you're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin between April 30th and May 4th, you should totally come check out the show, in my completely unbiased opinion. I think it's pretty good. So nowadays, it seems like the world is pretty good for neurodivergent folks, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, it is. Things have been done to ensure that we get a proper chance at stuff, like academics and work. But things still need to change. For one, the language surrounding neurodivergency needs fixing. For example, we should all try and employ a person-first vernacular. This means that instead of saying autistic person, we say person with autism. This simple change can do a lot when it comes to recognizing a person's divergency, while also recognizing the person they are without it. Another change that we can all make in our lives is asking for something as simple as accessibility needs when in a work or school setting. Accessibility needs can be something as simple as speaking louder, or providing subtitles, or something as complex as needing written directions for tasks. But no matter how complex or simple, these things are important to provide for those that need it, to make their lives easier. So what can we do? It's not difficult to be an ally for people who are different cognitively. We just have to be willing to listen, be willing to ask questions, and be willing to try. Thank you.